Are we live? Just kidding, guys. I know we're live. Hello, guys. Welcome to another episode of Magic Tuesday. So today's episode is quite special. I don't know if you guys are aware, but last week Blackmagic Design just released a whole new range of some products that I just want you to know that are already existing out here. Yes, guys. So I will want to take you through the products that Blackmagic released last week. I'll just give you a brief of the different products. So we have a product from the Web Presenter family, another new member of the Web Presenter family. We have a whole new product on the Hyperdeck family. And then we have also on the Studio Camera family, we have some releases. And as well, we have some new products that have not been existing for the Blackmagic. And without wasting much time, guys, we'll have videos of the Blackmagic actual release playing of the product. And then if you have any questions about the products during the session or after the session, you can ask these questions. We are hoping that by the end of this show, we'll have someone coming in live to ask any questions. But if not, guys, or if you feel like joining us live today, kindly leave your name or just ask on the comment section how you can join us live so that we can interact. And you can give us your thoughts on what you think about the latest releases from Blackmagic Design, the products. How do you feel about them? Do you think it's an exciting release? Or what is your thought about the releases? So if you want to go live with me today, leave your comment on the comment section and we can get in touch with you and tell you how you can join us live. So without further ado, I want to take you right to the first product. Sorry, let me just slow down. It's the excitement, don't worry. So without wasting your time, let me take you to the first product that was announced by Blackmagic during the release, the Web Presenter 4K. I'll give you something little after the video has played, but before I say much, let's just see about the Web Presenter 4K. Mary?
Model to the Blackmagic Web Presenter family, and it's called Blackmagic Web Presenter 4K. That'll give us two models in the family. The model here for for HD streaming, and we'll have the new model for streaming in HD or Ultra HD streaming. So let me show you. I'll bring it out. Here it is here. So you can see what it looks like. Now you can see that's the front there. It looks very similar. And I'll show you the back connections as well. I'll turn it around. There it is there. Now the model in the rack is set to stream in HD, but the new model can stream in HD or Ultra HD. Plus it's still got standards conversion built in. Otherwise it's exactly the same. So you get a streaming solution. So you can set the streaming solution on the front panel or in the utility. So it's pretty cool. Now let's switch over to that. So what I'll do is I'll change over. So I'll put this one here and I'll move this out of the rack because we'll switch it over. Okay, and then I'll put this one in the rack. And I need some power. And I'll change the monitoring output to here so we can see this one. There it is there. Now you can see that it's currently set to HD streaming. So what we'll do is we can change that in the menu. So I can show you where the menu is. So we go down to the front here. There it is. It's hard to use upside down. There it is. There's the menu button. So you can see I can go down to the streaming standard. I'm using it all upside down here. Whoops. Need to go to live stream and then hit set. And there's the streaming standard there. So I need to set. I can change that. So now I can scroll through and you can see the different standards there. So I can scroll through. So we'll do Ultra HD in, there it is. And I can go out of the menu. There it is. Now I'll need to turn, so now I've changed the menu, I can see the data rate change. I actually got to plug the SDI input in, so let's plug that in. So I need an Ultra HD video source. There it is. So there you go. Now you can see the data rate changes. That's the data rate actually recommended by YouTube for Ultra HD at 24 frames a second, which is what we're doing. Now when you're streaming in HD, the input will actually downconvert. So if you have this changed to HD and you've got an Ultra HD source, it'll downconvert. But if you're streaming in Ultra HD, which is what we're doing now, and you've got an Ultra HD input, it'll just pass through. Now, if you had an HD source and you actually selected Ultra HD to stream, it'll actually upconvert, which sounds a bit strange, but often you can be connected to routers. And so you don't really know what the input format's going to be. It can change input while you're streaming. So we actually will handle that, and it'll keep streaming while if you change the input. You might get a small dropout, but it'll keep going. Obviously, that's not something you want to do if you're really streaming, just randomly changing input, but it'll handle it. Now, the webcam has also been upgraded to Ultra HD. So when you plug into the USB, you can actually now do Ultra HD webcam, Ultra HD resolution. Now, not all software really supports that, but the webcam will just switch to HD if it's using software that doesn't support Ultra HD webcam. Now, it's got the same monitoring output. You can see there on the monitor, it's exactly the same. You can see the streaming standard on the monitor status. There's a whole lot of stuff there. Now, we're actually using a Blackmagic Web Presenter 4K for this stream right now. So this stream's actually in Ultra HD. Although in some places, depending where you are in the world, sometimes YouTube actually switches down to a lower resolution. But you can check the settings on the bottom right-hand side of the player, and you should be able to select Ultra HD and then see a 4K stream. So I think this new model is going to be really exciting. It's going to be a great addition to the family.
Yes, guys, that was the first product to be released by Blackmagic Design. As you all know, or let me just not assume that you all know, we've been having some Web Presenter previous versions. So we had this first one, the Web Presenter, just Blackmagic Web Presenter. And then recently Blackmagic released the Blackmagic Web Presenter HD. So the difference between this Web Presenter and the previous release, which was the Web Presenter HD, is with the USB out, you're only able to get HD of 720, 1280 by 720 on the webcam output. But now with the Web Presenter HD, you are able to get 1080 P60 feed via the webcam output. So you are able to stream full HD with the Web Presenter HD. So it's not been a while since the release of the Web Presenter HD, and here we are with the news of the Blackmagic Web Presenter 4K. So some platforms like, let's say, YouTube, you're able to stream up to 4K, so there's no limit for you not to be able to stream that high quality feed that you've always wanted. So we have the Blackmagic Web Presenter 4K as a new release, and this is, I don't know if it's just me, but it's really exciting, and there's no excuse of you not being able to give that quality to whoever is watching you from wherever they are. Yes, guys, so that was the first release. And again, if you're joining us right now, today we're just doing a freestyle session. I'm taking you through a release by Blackmagic, which was last week. And if you want to join us live, by live I mean if you want to join us using a video call, yes, you can comment on the comment section, and then we'll be able to let you know how you'd be able to join us live and give us your thoughts about the latest releases by Blackmagic Design. Yes, without wasting again much of your time, take a deep breath, Hosea. Yes, it's well. So yes, on to our next product. Yes, I'm even getting confused. Before we play the video about our next product, we had this Hyperdeck family. We had the Hyperdeck Mini, Hyperdeck Studio Mini, and then we had the Hyperdeck Studio. We had the HD, the 6G, and the 12G Hyperdeck Studio, the ones that used to record on SSD. We only had a Hyperdeck Mini, which had the provision of recording via the SD cards. But now all these models have been phased out, and we have an incoming generation of the Hyperdeck recorders. So I want you to see, and I'll discuss about what new components we have in these units that we didn't have in the previous ones. But first of all, let's watch the first video on the first Hyperdeck release, which is the Hyperdeck Studio Mini HD. Mary?
Workflows, and so we've got a new model, and a new model is called Hyperdeck Studio HD Mini. So let me check it out. I'll bring it out and show you. Here it is here. I'll just set it on top of the Web Presenter here. Oops. There it is there, so you can see it. So you can see it looks very similar to the older Mini model. You see from the front there, but it's actually quite different. It does have a lot of changes in it, and it's on the back that you can really see the difference. So I'll spin it around and you can see, I'll put it back there so I don't drive the camera guys crazy. There you go there. How's that look? So you can see the rear does have a lot of changes. Now we still have the reference generator included. The original Hyperdeck Studio Mini had a reference generator built in, It was great for multi-screen digital signage. It was really amazing that the old model had that. It was fantastic because it lets you daisy chain multiple units and sync them all together, and then remote trigger all the Hyperdeck to play together, so you keep everything synchronized for like multi-screen signage. So it's pretty cool. So what we decided to do was take that idea further and actually add a timecode generator built in as well. Now this is new. What it allows you to do is loop other Hyperdecks, so you can create an ISO stack where the first recorder will lock all the others. So you can loop the timecode out. You can see that there's the timecode out, and that's the generator, and there's the reference generator, and the inputs are underneath. Now it's also got 3G SDI in and out. It's got a HDMI output, so it's great for monitoring with ATEM switches. Or with ATEM mini switches, you can plug into those. It's got both AC and 12-volt DC inputs. You can see them on the back there. So you can have mains power or battery power. Now another new thing we've done, we've added USB-C on the back for recording to USB disks. Now that's also new. So you can record for really long durations on a single USB disk, because USB disks can get really big. You can even record to disk arrays. So look, we'll plug it in and check it out. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to replace the streaming recorder here with the Hyperdeck Studio Hd Mini. So let's do that. So what I'll do is I'll take this out and move it across here and stack it over here. Just get that nice. Okay, so we'll put this one in the rack. I'll give it some power. There it is there. And we'll need to plug a video input in, so I'll just use a program out of the switcher here. There we go. So let's do a recording. So I'll have to insert a media card, so I'll do that. Again, I'm using it upside down, so I've got to feel my way around. So let's do a recording. So I'll hit record, which is that button there. There it goes, now we're recording. So it's got dual media slots, which the older model had too, which means it can record forever. When that card fills up, if there's a second empty card in, it'll just switch to the empty card. Then you can hot swap the card that's full and just keep recording and keep bouncing backwards and forwards between cards. But it also has the USB disk support, so let's do a recording on that. So I'll stop recording, so you can see that there. Oops, I've got to find the right button. And I'll eject this card and I'll plug in a USB disk. I've got a USB disk here. So I'll plug that in. And now we can do a recording with that. So you can see it's come up there, it says USB 3 on the display. And I'll hit record. Now you can see I've got 61 hours of recording time, so you can really see how big USB disks are. They can fit a lot of recordings and for a long duration. You can see that there on the indicator. You can see how long that duration is. So that's 61 hours is a long time. Now it even works with USB hubs and multiple disks. So you can have a hub and then more than one disk, it'll switch through the disks. The ATEM Mini actually does that if you have a hub and multiple disks. It supports the Blackmagic multi-dock, which has got 4 disks in it, so it'll go from disk to disk. But what's also really exciting about the Hyperdeck Studio Hd Mini is that also the USB works as a webcam. So if you plug the USB into a computer, it looks like a webcam. So that means any software will work. It's a bit like the web presenters. I think that's an exciting feature. I'm not sure what people are going to do with it, maybe for remote monitoring and things like that, but I think it's really exciting to have that feature built in as well. Now there's lots of other features too. You can see in the record menus, I'll stop recording, but yeah, we've got nice menuing system in it. Let me stop recording there. So you can see what I can do is show you the menus. So I can push menu down the bottom there, and you can see I've got the menus there. And I can go into different menus, and you can see the codecs. I can use the search dial. Sorry, I'm using it upside down again, so there it is there. And you see all the different codecs we've got. So it records and plays back ProRes, DNX, and H264 files. It also supports PCM uncompressed and AAC compressed audio. Obviously, PCM audio is used with ProRes and DNX, while AAC audio is used with H.264. So it supports also long file recordings. It'll do like 3 hours in a single file. And it also, one of the other things it does is it supports true interlaced H264 files. Now that's really important when you're using 1080i HD formats, but it also is important for recording NTSC and PAL formats. Now archive content is generally NTSC or PAL, and it's interlaced. So what this means is that interlaced, so interlaced files are really an important feature for H264. Now, if you're capturing from old decks, this is why you really need that. It's the old recording from old decks. It lets you keep the original format of the videotape unchanged, and that's really important because you don't want to do any kind of processing. You get that kind of a Apollo 11 effect where you've got this processed imagery and there's not a lot you can do with it as technology improves later. What you can do is you can preserve the interlaced structure of the file on disk, and then you can apply different kinds of processing on those files as technology improves. Yeah, the processing you're doing today is going to be very different to the processing you do on those files in 10 years' time. So you really want that interlaced structure to be preserved so you can reprocess files in the future if you want to. So I think interlaced H264 is a really important format. Now the new model also has 13 languages. It's got English, Chinese, Japanese, Korean, Spanish, German, French, Russian, Italian, Portuguese and Turkish. And we've now added 2 new languages, Polish and Ukraine. We even have a light and dark mode. You might have noticed on the LCD that it's actually a new dark design. You can actually change it. Let me show you if I can use this upside down. I don't know how to scroll this up. I can scroll through to the setup menu. There it is there. And I can actually scroll through the settings down to dark appearance. See, there it is there. And I can set it. And you can change to a light appearance. There it is there. Or you can change back to, whoops. There you go. Oh, it just automatically changed back to dark because it was the first item in the list and I'm using it upside down, so I've got no idea how to use the menus upside down. So you can see it's really kind of exciting. It's I think the dark mode actually looks really nice. But again, you can make it look like the older models were at light mode only. This one does both dark and light mode. So the big difference, so okay, what's the differences between this new model and the older Hyperdex Studio Mini that it replaces? Now this new model doesn't have fill and key outputs like the old model had. And the old model also had 6G Sdi, so it could do some low frame rate Ultra HD. So 3G Sdi on the new model supports SD and HD formats only, but not Ultra HD. So they're really the 2 differences. They're probably the 2 features that are missing from the new model. Yeah, but we think the features we have added are much more important. They allow you to do lots of new things like the Timecode Generator and recording to USB disks are really much more useful features. And you can stack decks and then sync them all with the timecode and reference. So it allows that new ISO workflow where you can have a camera connected to each deck and you can have multiple decks all recording and the whole set records in sync. Then you can take those files and use them with multicam software for editing. So it's really exciting. Now there is a couple of other new features in the deck as well. It's the 1G Ethernet that's built in is actually much faster now, so you can do file uploads and deck control. So it's it's faster to do file uploads. So a good example of this is if you remote uploaded a H264 file for digital signage, those uploads will be quicker.
You've heard it. I don't have to say much. You just heard about the Hyperdex Studio HD Mini. Yes, guys, so a very important additional component that I would like to do what? To talk about. Guys, don't worry about me today, it's just the excitement. So we have the additional USB recording port. Do you know what you can do with that? As in to add with the 2 previously existing SD card slots. Now we have a USB port that you're able to connect your external hard disk and record to it. So longer recording hours with nothing to worry about. You don't have to worry about you need to remove the first SD card, copy before the second one gets filled up. As in, that worry, Blackmagic has you already sorted. While you are thinking of it, they were working on a solution for it. I just went low. I realized that the excitement is still sinking in. And guys, just know that this was launched last week. And I've been carrying all that excitement all through so that I can wait for this day to share this excitement with you. I just want to big up this person who's watching and is saying, Kanini Phil is saying, study time following. Yes, Kanini. Every day is a learning day. Every hour, every minute, every second. Anything new you can find on your way to learn about, then you should be proud of yourself for making that achievement to learn something new. So for today, it's going to be about the Blackmagic latest release products. I don't want to waste much of your time. I want you to watch the next video, which is also a product on the Hyperdeck family. Another one, it is Hyperdex Studio Hd Pro. Yes, guys, we have HD and now we have HD. HD Mini, now we have HD Pro. I'm even getting confused. I don't want to even hint you because the longer I talk, I might be tempted to give you some hints on the exciting parts. But again, let me just let you watch the video about the release of the Blackmagic Hyperdeck Studio HD Pro. Mary?
models with a new one, the new model, sorry, and the new model is called Hyperdex Studio Hd Pro. Now it replaces both the Hyperdex Studio and the Hyperdex Studio Pro, but it's a lot more powerful. Now it's a full width rack design, so it's got space for SSDs, and so let me bring one out and show it to you. So you can see here it is here. There it is. I'll set it on top so you can see. So you can see the front there. Now it's a much more modern design. But actually let's have a quick look at the back first, and you can see the connections because it's probably worth doing that. So let me, sorry, camera guys, I'll turn it around. You can see it there. Now you can see it's quite similar to the Hyperdex Studio HD Plus model. That's because they're actually quite similar internally. They're both very similar design. What's most different about the design is actually the design itself, the industrial design of the product. This model is also 6G Sdi, but you notice the timecode now uses XLR connectors. Now timecode can be both BNC or XLR connectors, but XLR is obviously a lot more common because timecode is actually an audio signal, so normally it's used on XLR connectors. Otherwise the rear connection is almost identical to the Hyperdex Studio HD Plus model. So we'll go back to the front and we'll have a look at the front. That's where you really see the differences. So I'll line it up at the front there. So you can see it's a whole new industrial design. So let me plug some power in so I can show you it running. And we'll plug a video input. We also need to move our monitoring connection from the Plus model up to this one. So you can see it, there it is. So this model has SSDs. So let's do a recording and you can see it running. So here's an SSD. So we'll plug it in. And we'll start recording. There it is. So you can see we've retained the SSD lights that turn around as we're recording and playing. Now we also have the SD cards in the front. You can actually see the SD card slots there and there, along with the SSDs. So that means we have 4 media slots in total. So you can bring SD cards up from the smaller Mini and Plus models up to this model. And you can also bring the SSDs from the older Hyperdex Studio models across as well. And of course SSDs are physically larger, so they also can be they can be bigger, higher capacity. So I think this model is fantastic because it can take media from all other models. Now we've got the really nice transport controls on the front there. We've also got the speaker and headphone connection. But the big improvement is the search dial. We've got a wonderful new search dial. It's incredible. It's made from machined metal. It has like a natural inertia. It's actually steel. It's got mass to it. It's covered with a soft rubber coating, and it has an electronic clutch, so it stops when it's under command of the software. There's now also buttons that for selecting the search mode directly. We've got a shuttle, jog, and scroll button. So I can show you how this works. So what I'll do is I'll stop recording. What you can do is you can. One of the things I want to mention before I move on is the loop modes. You can actually press play multiple times to change the loop modes. So if you press play the first time, it'll just play. But if you press play again, it'll loop the first clip. The clip you're on. And if you press play again, it'll loop all the clips. So let me show you actually that. I'll hit play here. So you can see the I'm playing now. If I push it again, it's playing one clip. Sorry, it's looping one clip, and now it's looping all clips. Sorry, I'd gone through the black bit where this video cycles around. So you can see pressing play multiple times will give you different loop modes. Anyway, so let's check out the search dial like I was talking about. So you can see that if I push the shuttle control, you can see now I've got shuttle, and you've got a really nice center detent position. It's harder here, of course, but you've got this sort of center detent there, which is in still, and then you can go to the ends of the shuttle range, and it'll show you the clutch will kick in and limit the travel of the search dial. Now if you push the jog control, which is there, now it free spins, and you can see, and you can also see the loop, the light around the SSD moves with the jog. Now you can move to scroll. Now scroll is actually very similar to a fast sort of jog, really, but it's fantastic when you get a lot of media because you can move up and down the media really easily. So let's show you that. So you can see you can go to the end, and when you hit the end, it's a bit hard to hear that, but if I hit the end, so I'm hitting the start there, the clutch will kick in when you get to the start of media and actually stop the playback. So it's really cool. Now the menus also work with the clutch. So if I go into the menus, which I've got my menu button there, and so you can see that as I'm moving through the menus, the clutch will actually kick in. So it's really nice. It's very fast to use. That's kind of a nice feature. I'll get back out of the menus. That's a really nice feature because sometimes if you've got a setting down the end, you can run all the way down the end, the clutch will stop, and then you can just back a few steps, and it makes it much faster to get to the menus.
Yes, 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 yes. I don't know if you realized it, but again, there was a product on that video that I've not just talked about because I'm so excited to share all these things and I left it out. Before I talk about the Hyperdeck Studio HD Pro, I just want to read this comment from Abinel Gadhu. Abinel is saying, I love this. Thank you, Fozia. Abinel, you're most welcome because you need to be updated about the latest release and the latest products in this field. Yes, so before I talk about the Hyperdeck Studio Pro, I want to take you back because I need you to watch this video about the Hyperdeck Studio HD Plus. So yes, this is the Hyperdeck family, the latest Hyperdeck family. We have watched a video on the Hyperdeck Studio HD Mini. Now we were supposed to watch Hyperdeck Studio HD Plus, then the Pro, but we skipped the Plus because I was so excited. It just skipped my mind because I was going so fast. So let me take you back a little bit. You watch the Hyperdeck Studio HD Plus, then I can just talk about how excited I am. Yes, for those of you who are joining us live right now, Abinel, Phil, every one of you who's watching but not saying anything on the comment section, if you have anything you want to ask us, if you want to join me live, if you want to come in live, kindly just comment on the comment section and then we will communicate to you on how you can join me live and ask your questions live today with me. So yes, let's watch the video on the Hyperdeck Studio HD Plus. Mary?
Controls, but we also get space for other things as well. In fact, it totally transforms the Hyperdeck. So we have a new model that's slightly bigger and it's half a rack unit wide. It's called Hyperdeck Studio HD Plus, and let me bring it out and show it to you. Here it is here. You can see it there. You can see really how different it is. Just adding a little bit more width makes a huge difference. What we'll do is I'll look at the rear connections first. I'll move it around. I'll put it down so that way. Actually, let me get rid of this USB disk. And I'll put it down there so that the poor camera guys aren't chasing me as I'm wobbling around talking to you. How's that? I'll place that nicely there. It's a little bit crooked. There it goes. Looks nice. So you can see the connections there. Now, it's got 6G SDI in and out, which means it can record and play all SD and HD formats in H264, ProRes and DNX, but the 6G SDI supports some Ultra HD. So we can record and play ProRes and DNX in Ultra HD up to 2160p 30. Now, web broadcasters don't often use high frame rates, so 6G SDI is really good for them. Now, even the Hdmi connections will do Ultra HD up to 30p. It's only the H264 that's limited to SD and HD resolutions. And that's why we're still calling the HD model, because not all the formats are supported in Ultra HD, but you do get a bit of Ultra HD, but you get everything in SD and HD, but the 6G SDI gives you a little bit of Ultra HD, but it's still really mostly a HD deck. Now the 6G SDI input has a loop out, which you can see there. Oops, wrong side, everything's upside down. There it is there, loop out. So you can loop out to other video equipment. Now, another new feature of this model is it's got the dual outputs. So the dual outputs allow for fill and key. So you can play back a ProRes 4444 file in HD. It'll real-time convert the alpha channel to a key output in real time. So you get a fill and key on those there. So it's great for live graphics into switches where you can key in the switcher. Now, we also have a new SDI format, sorry, a new H264 format in this Hyperdeck Studio HD Plus model. It's called H264 Sdi. Now, in these Hyperdecks, you've got H264 low, medium, and high, and now you've got a fourth quality level called H264 Sdi. Now, normally H264 is an 8-bit 420 format. That's totally fine for streaming or computer playback. It's really what it's normally used for. However, H264 is also a fantastic compression scheme. The files are much smaller and editing software is really fast on modern computers. I mean, the computers are so fast now, H264 is really easy to edit with. So we kind of wanted to make a better version of it. We wanted to capture all the quality in the SDI standard. Now, SDI is actually 10-bit 422, so that's what the quality of the new H264 SDI quality setting is. It captures 10-bit 422 and gets all the quality from the SDI connection coming into the deck. Now, this is great for archive because, like I was talking about before, the files are much smaller, but they've got every single bit of every pixel in the SDI connection. So it's really good. Now, actually, there is some software that doesn't support H264 and 422 in 10-bit. So just check the files with the software you're using before you use it on a job. But I do think it's an exciting new format that's going to be really popular. Now, if you notice the back, there is a few other changes, of course. We now have space for an HDMI input as well as the HDMI out. So it's a great recorder for like consumer equipment, but it's also a fantastic recorder for ATEM Mini. You know, you can use it to record ProRes and DNX from ATEM Mini switches. Now, most ATEM Mini switches, most of the models have recording for H264 files. But ProRes and DNX use lower video compression, and they're also 10-bit 422. Plus, the new H264 Sdi quality setting is also obviously 10-bit 422. So that's also supported. So really adding a Hyperdex Studio allows these formats to be recorded with ATEM Mini. That's great because, you know, ATEM Minis are actually 10-bit 422 switches. There's nothing low-end about an ATEM Mini switcher. They're professional internally. And so they're actually quite high-end switches, even though they're, you know, small and they've got HDMI connections. So I think this is a fantastic companion for ATEM Mini. Now, if you notice on the back, we've also got a monitoring output. It's got on-screen overlays. Now, these are actually the same overlays that Hyperdeck Extreme has. You'll notice also on the back there's an RS422 remote output connection. Now, any button that's pressed on the front panel will be output on the RS422 remote out connection, and any command coming in will also received on the input RS422 connection or Ethernet will be output on the RS422 output as well. So that means you can loop remotes and trigger a whole stack to record. You just press record on one of the Hyperdecks and all the rest of them will go into record. So that's a really nice feature. And it also now has a 4-pin broadcast style power connector. So that's pretty cool. Now it's still got the USB for recording to external disks, and of course that USB still works as a webcam. But anyway, let's see how it works. So first I'll plug it in. Now what I'll do is I'll get a Teranex Mini rack shelf so I can sit it on top and it looks really nice. So hold on, I'll just get that and I'll put this here. Then I can show you the front. So there it is there. I'll just line it up. Make it look like a real rack of equipment, and then I'll sit it in front. Sit it on there. Now I need to add some power. It's got a power cable here. And we'll also plug in a video input because I'll need a video source. There we go. Now you can really see how it compares to the Hyperdeck Studio HD Mini below it. You can really get a good example of the differences between the two models, and there's not a lot of extra width, but you can see it's quite different. Now what we'll do is we'll plug in the monitoring output so you can actually see a live video feed from the monitoring out. So I'll plug that in. There it is there. Now you can see there's a whole bunch of overlays there. There's a lot of information. You know, there's like media status and time code. You can also see the input format on the monitor. So let's plug an SD card in from the other deck and we'll move it up and then we can do a recording on this one. So I'll get it down here if I can find it. There it is there. Now I'm using it all upside down. Oops, let me feel my way. There it is there. You can actually now see the media status. You can see I've got 6 hours of recording on that SD card. And the codecs displayed, we're actually using H264 Sdi on this one. Now the audio meter's there. This is set to 2 channels of audio, but you can actually, it'll reflect the number of channels you've got selected in the Hyperdeck in the setup menu. So if you've got 4 channels of audio selected, it'll show 4 meters. If you've got 8 or 16 channels selected, it'll actually even show 16 audio meters on the overlay, depending on the number of audio channels you've got selected. Now let's look at the front panel controls here. You can see with the larger size, we've got a lot more space for things. So you can see we've got much better transport controls. So let's do a recording. There you go there. And you can see they're really traditional style deck controls. Really nice, beautifully. We've even got an input button, so you can change the input and select the input from the front. Now, you'll also notice we've got a headphone socket on the front. Now that's probably our most requested feature, but we thought we could go a little bit further beyond that. We've also added a speaker. So what you do is you can push to listen, if I can find the, see there's the sound coming out there. Now this is fantastic for ISO recording, because what you can do is you can go and check each unit to make sure they've got the right audio, and you don't need headphones. I mean, obviously it's nice to have headphones, but what happens if you walk up to a rack? You can just walk right up to a rack, push the audio monitoring and listen. So it's great. Now if you double press it, it'll lock on. So you can see there. And also you can adjust the level using the search dial on the front. So if you hold the button down and change the level, you'll notice there's a level indicator. Oops. See, there it is there. I'll turn it down a bit. So you've got some real fine control, and you can see the level indicator there that adjusts, and that comes up when you're holding the speaker button. So it's really nice. Now you'll also notice there's a remote enable button there. Now that's nice because it stops any Ethernet or RS422 from controlling the deck. You still get the status back to the software or hardware that's controlling the unit, but it's just nothing can be triggered, and that's really important if you're doing a master recording. The last thing you need is some bit of software or something coming to the deck and stopping a recording when you're actually recording a master. So having a record enable is a really nice feature. Now as far as menuing go, it's got the same menus as the Mini model. So let me stop recording and show you that to you. Whoops, if I can. Again, I'm using it upside down. So you can see the menus there. See, they're the same menus that we have. And you can see, you know, whoops, wrong side. There you go through there. Probably should have spent more time doing learning how to use it upside down. So it's got all the features of the mini model, plus a whole lot more. I'll get out of the menu. Now, what I want to do is show you how you can record using multiple units. Now, I talked about this feature with the Hyperdeck Studio Hd Mini, but all the Hyperdeck Studio models will now be able to do this. So what I'll do is I'll bring out a second model, and I'll connect some power, and I'll place it next to the unit that we have here, and then you'll get 2 channels per unit. So here's the second unit. Let's see if we've got we've got a card in there. So what you get is basically full redundancy with the 2 units in there. So what we want to do is we want to loop the timecode and the reference from this unit to this unit so they work together. So what I'll do is I'll plug in my power and timecode, which I forgot to do. I've got a second video source here. Getting a little bit tangled. There you go. Should come up. And what I can do is I'll loop my timecode and my reference. So on the back, I've got reference out and timecode out, and I'll just loop those. So I'm just plugging the outputs on the top here into the inputs on the bottom here. Now the other thing we need to do is we need to loop the remote. So what that'll do is it allows us to trigger the remote recording on this one from this one. So I've got a remote cable here. This is just a standard RS422 remote cable. So I'll plug it into here. I'll plug it into my input here. So a bit, there it is there. Now the other thing I need to do is I need to enable the remote on the second unit, which is down here. There it is. So what that'll do is it'll allow us to trigger it. Now when I start recording on this unit, it'll trigger recording on this unit. So let's do that. So here I am here. There you go. Now you can see that they're both recording and they've both got matching timecode. So you can see them there. So this is really nice. The first unit is sending reference and timecode and remote to the second unit, and it propagates up through all the decks in a chain. You can add more hyperdecks. You just basically add them and for as many channels as you need. Basically one for each camera. So this will be recording 2 extra, 2 cameras. You could add more. And then you can use any editing software that supports multicam to edit them. Of course, large broadcasters have so many channels that sometimes they'll just use a distribution amplifier and send their master timecode and reference straight to the decks.
Yes, guys. So that was the Hyperdeck Studio HD Plus. How interesting. So our previous model, the Hyperdeck Studio Mini, was the same size as the Web Presenter unit, which was covering a third of the rack, the rack shelf. Now with this Hyperdeck Studio HD Plus, now you can cover half of it. Now that means with the increased size, increased controls, increased functions, and this is just amazing. First of all, I just love how beautiful the units look like when they are arranged on a rack. That was just a simulation of a rack, but again, the colorful buttons, the blue, the red, I just love how physically the unit looks like. And then now something else that maybe you guys missed out is with the Hyperdeck Studio HD Mini, it's full HD, 3G SDI and everything else. So it does SD and HD formats. Now with the Hyperdeck Studio HD Plus, it has 6G SDI. So what this means is you can do up to 4K. You can record 4K, but up to 30 frames. And the Hyperdeck Studio HD Pro. Yes, the HD Pro. The HD Pro is a full rack size, exactly like this one. So the 2 models that use only SD cards are the HD Mini and the HD Plus, which you have seen how exciting and interesting this is. Now we have the Hyperdeck Studio HD Pro, which is this size, and a feature has been added to this as well. So this is the older version. As you can see, it does not have any SD card slot. So it only limited one to record directly to SSD cards, but with the additional USB ports on the Hyperdeck models and the additional SD card slot on the Hyperdex Studio Hd Pro, that is just interesting, as in Blackmagic have tried to accommodate each and every one of us. Whether you're using SD cards to record, whether you prefer to record your files to external disks, or whether you have SSD cards that you want to work with, or you want to work with everything, SD cards, SSD, and then the external hard disks, with this Hyperdeck, with these new Hyperdeck models, you've been covered. Yes. Now, before I continue, guys, I just want to read some messages. Now, we have a message from Hassan. My friends, for those who are not from Kenya and any other country that speaks Swahili, I'll just read this and then I will summarize what Hassan is talking about. Hassan Idris Hassan says, kwa kweli Blackmagic wanafanya bidii ili sisi kama watumizi wa bidhaa zao tuendelee kuwa na kazi rahisi. Kongole kwa kampuni nzima ya Blackmagic na Highway Audiovisual Kenya kiujumla kwa mafunzo haya murwa. Yes, that is our international language. So for you who did not understand that question, what Hassan basically says is Blackmagic are really doing a nice thing by coming up with these new products that can accommodate each and everyone. And as well, he's congratulating Blackmagic design team for working so hard, and as well Highway Audiovisual for giving you guys this opportunity to learn about the Blackmagic products. Thank you so much, Hassan. And then also Hassan said, this is great. Definitely. It's amazing. It's great. I totally agree with you, Hassan. And then Kanini says, awesome. That is really nice. And this lady just who's selecting what to send to you guys right now, she's called Mary Muia. Mary is just behind the switcher right now, and she's the one controlling everything. She's the one switching, doing all the switching, posting all your comments, and she says great products launch. Yes, I totally agree with you, Mary. I know you can see me, but I will show people at the end of this video who this Mary is, because it's been a while since. Actually, Mary has never appeared on Blackmagic Tuesday shows, so I will also launch Mary on Blackmagic today. Yes, guys, Saif Yasin, nashukuru. This one just had me mentioning about Mary, and he decided to comment because he also wants to be a celeb. These two do another show which is supposed to air tomorrow, but again, guys, you will see them at the end of this live video. That was just a small breather for us to be able to absorb all the content and all the good products that we've just seen the videos about, and I'm preparing you for the next one. We have the final product from the Hyperdeck family, the final product launch, which was the Hyperdeck Studio 4K Pro. Yes, we had the Hyperdeck Studio Hd Pro. Now we have the Hyperdeck Studio 4K Pro. Guys, let's watch this video. And again, if you're joining us right now and you want to come in live and ask your questions, feel free to comment and we will get in touch with you and let you know how you can join us live. Yes, guys, so without much talking, Mary, Hyperdeck Studio 4K Pro video.
Cards, for example. So today we have a fourth new Hyperdeck Studio model. It's the new top of the family. It's called Hyperdeck Studio 4K Pro. It's an extremely powerful full Ultra HD design. So let me bring it out and show you. Here it is here. So you see how it looks. It basically looks exactly the same as the Hyperdeck Studio HD Pro. And it has the same connections. I'll show you the rear. There it is there. Now the SDI connections are 12G SDI in this model. Internally, it's actually very different, as the electronics are completely different because it's Ultra HD. So I'll go back to the front. So I'll put it there and line it up a little. This looks a bit better. Now, from the front, it actually looks exactly the same as the HD model because it works exactly the same way. So it's pretty cool. Now let me plug it in and I'll show you how it works. So Now there's actually 2 AC power supplies on this model. I forgot to show you when it was the other way around. There's 2 AC power supplies with 2 independent AC connections for redundant power, and there's still actually the XLR DC input as well. So there's actually 3 different power inputs on it. So you've got really good redundant power. I'll move the monitor connection up to this model. So obviously the really big feature of Hyperdex Studio 4K Pro is Ultra HD support. So it does H264, ProRes and DNX in all SD, HD and Ultra HD formats. But it also has H265 support. So what actually happens is the codec changes depending on the video standard. So it does H264 in SD and HD, but then it changes to H265 in Ultra HD. So the deck will automatically change between H264 and H265 when it's switching standards. So to really summarize this, the deck will record in H264 in all SD and HD formats up to 1080p 60. Then it'll record and play in H265 in all Ultra HD formats up to 2160p 60. So of course it still has ProRes and DNX in all SD, HD and Ultra HD formats up to 2160p. And it also has the dual link outputs, the dual link 12G outputs. So it'll play back a ProRes 4444 file with fill and key in all formats up to 2160p 60. So you can even do live graphics with fill and key in Ultra HD at high frame rates. So let's play back some video and I'll show you it working. So there it is there. Let me hit play. So it's still looking at the card. So it is there. So I'll leave it playing on loop actually. So you can see, there it is playing Ultra HD. In fact, I forgot, I'll show you the shuttle and everything still works. Perfectly fine. That's all Ultra HD native now. So I'll go on loop. So it's wonderful, I'll leave it playing on the monitor because it looks great. So there's also one of the aspects I want to talk about with the H264 files. Now this Hyperdex Studio 4K Pro will actually play back rendered files from computers in H264. Now the other models won't play H264 files from computers sometimes. It really depends on the software that was used to create the files. But this model works with H264 and H265 files from computers okay. Now what we're actually going to do is we're planning on updating the Hyperdex Studio HD models, so all these models, to include this feature so that they can all play back software rendered files. Just need to quite make it in time for the launch. Obviously the recording's okay and software reads the files fine. But what we want to do is we want to be able to use computers to render files and play them back. So we'll have all the models playing back rendered H264 files soon. So keep an eye out for that software update. Now the other big change in this model is Ethernet. The Hyperdex Studio 4K Pro has 10G Ethernet, which means you can actually get transfer speeds up to 1.2 gigabytes a second. It's incredibly fast and it's actually much faster than any of the media that you can plug into it can handle.
Do you need me to say more? Do you really need me to say more, guys? That was the whole of the Hyperdeck family. All of it, new products, new releases, and that is what I'm talking about, guys. Just a second, I was checking my phone to see the comments, but anyway, that is just amazing. I just want to point out a few points. Now we have 4 Hyperdeck models. We have the Hyperdeck Studio HD Mini, Hyperdeck Studio HD Plus, Hyperdeck Studio HD Pro, Hyperdeck Studio 4K Pro. 4 of them. So the Hyperdeck Studio HD Mini is a third rack size, so you can have up to 3 units mounted on one rack shelf, like 1, 2, and 3. Now with the Hyperdeck Studio HD Mini, I'm just reminding you guys that it has 3G SDI, so that means you can do full HD. You can record full HD, that means up to 1080p 60. And then we have the Hyperdeck Studio HD Plus. The Hyperdeck Studio HD Plus is a little bit bigger than the Hyperdeck Studio HD Mini, covers half the rack unit, so you're able to have 2 units side by side on the standard rack size. That you can use the Terranex rack shelf. We also have, okay, let me not go there. Let me just talk about the Hyperdeck Studio HD Plus first. There's this thing that was very, very interesting. Guys, now imagine you have 10 of this, 20 of this, hundreds of this Hyperdeck Studio HD, okay, Hyperdeck Studio HD Plus models, and you just need to start, you trigger recording from one unit and everything else just records, as long as you have everything connected, including the time code, so that everything can be in sync. That was a very, very unique feature, and it reduces a lot of work instead of someone going like the TV stations whereby you have this massive recording of contents every day, every other day. You're recording content every other day, every other night, as in 24/7 you're recording. So instead of someone going to record on each independent unit, you just press record and everything else just starts recording. How beautiful is that? I'll mention how beautiful everything else just came out after everything had been arranged to simulate a rack on that desk. But now, before I go to that, I want to talk about the Hyperdex Studio Hd Pro. This size, the full rack size unit, the one that has the difference between the Hyperdex Studio HD HD Pro and 4K Pro is that one is HD and one is 4K. Yes, so that means you can have Ultra HD recording on one, and then the other one you record HD feed. But again, the feature that the Hyperdex Studio HD Pro and 4K Pro units have added of having provision of an SD card port on the unit is just amazing, very amazing. And on all the Hyperdeck models, you have a USB out that you're able to record your external disk. Guys, I'm here because of you, and if you have any questions, if you need any clarification, if you want to ask a question, I'm not limiting anyone on speaking English because this is for you, my local people. So kama unaweza ongea Kiswahili as well and unataka kutujoin live video, unataka come in via video, you can just, unaweza andika hapo kwa comment unataka kunijoin today, and then tutakutumia link on how utanijoin. That is Sheng for those of you who are watching. But anyway, wow, my live for today has been extremely long and we've just not seen all of it. So guys, I want to introduce you to the studio camera models. Yes, guys, we have this baby, the Blackmagic Studio Camera HD, and we have new and improved studio camera from Blackmagic Design that has just been released last week, not just one. But again, I just want to introduce you to the first video of the first studio camera. That is the Blackmagic Studio Camera 4K Pro. Wow, I just rushed. Let me breathe again. Blackmagic Studio Camera 4K Pro, and here is a video of the launch of Blackmagic Studio Camera 4K Pro. Mary?
Replace these old models with the latest technology. So what this means, we're going to introduce a totally new model called the Blackmagic Studio Camera 4K Pro. It's a native 4K camera, so it'll do both HD and Ultra HD video standards. Now this new model replaces both the older Blackmagic Studio Camera HD and the Blackmagic Studio Camera 4K models. So let me show it to you now. I'll bring it out and let's have a look. So it is here. So there you can see, there it is. And I'll spin it around so you can have a bit of a look. There it is there. So you see it's a radical change, but it's also, it's a bit familiar. The new model's made from carbon fiber reinforced polycarbonate, so it's much lighter. So you see there's the side and there's the other side. Now that really matters. Being lightweight really matters when you're carrying multiple cameras into a venue, which we've all done. So there you can see the front. You can see it's a micro four thirds lens mount, which means you can use the lenses you already own. This new model also has amazing low light. It's 25,600 ISO, which means you can add up to 36 dB again, and there are 13 stops of dynamic range, so it handles some incredibly complex lighting situations. So let me show you how it performs in low light. Now we're actually using a Blackmagic Studio Camera 4K Pro for this video, so I can actually show you on the camera I'm using to talk to you. But first I need a low intensity light source, so we thought we'd use some candles. So let me bring that out. There you go. Oops, I'll move the camera. And I've got a, so let's use this. I would love one of these to play with when I was a kid. Now, if we could turn off the studio lights, and we'll have to add some gain, wind the gain up on the camera. So if you guys could wind the gain up, you get a feeling for what the camera can do in low light. So that's 36 dB again, of course. It's amazing you can actually run the camera that high. There's a bit of noise at that gain setting, but I might have to tweak the color temperature a little bit, but you can see, I have to make sure the iris is open as well. But you can see the image is okay, and that's just very low light. Now this room is really big, it's got no close walls, so it's pretty black in here, it's almost dark, pitch black, so there's not a lot of walls to reflect the light. And if you see, you can actually see 3 shadows. Each candle's got its own separate shadow, and you can actually see that on the back there. It's pretty amazing. Anyway, we'll turn the lights back on. And, oh God, wow. We'll have to wind the gain down a bit there. We've got it a bit high. There we go, winding it down. And maybe tweak the color temperature, I think. So look, I think any venue is going to have a lot more light than candles. It's one of the, I better blow those out. Oh, smoke. So I think any venue is going to have a lot more light than some candles, but you get the idea. It's got some really great low light capability. Now, one of the other nice features of the camera has got a built-in color corrector. So it means you can add a real cinematic style of live production. And with the new sensor, you get so much more out of the color corrector than before. So it's really nice what you can create because you're getting just much better pictures into the color corrector. There's also been a big improvement in the audio. This new camera has much better microphones. They're located on either side of the viewfinder there, so which gives us a lot of stereo separation. Now the old model are actually on the lens mount, but this works so much better and they're just better quality microphones as well. Now the new model also has a much bigger tally light. It's much easier to see, especially from a long distance away. The old tally light was a thin one and it was a bit harder to see. Plus we have the number decals now, and they're included with the camera. So you know, the pack of decals, you can put them on and they just sort of slip in. Now let's have a look at the side. In fact, I'll get rid of this cupcake and I'll move the camera over. So I'll move it across so you can see it. Now let's have a look at the side where all the connections are located to and from the camera. So you can see there, there's a bit of a shot there. If we can go in a bit tighter, maybe you can see them. So you can see the first output, there's a HDMI output. Now that works in HD or Ultra HD. The HDMI even includes camera control, so the switcher can control back through the HDMI. There's a 12G Sdi camera output, which is the main camera output. There's a 12G Sdi input program return. And the SDI input includes camera control from the switcher. And also the SDI connections to and from the camera is how we do talkback. So we're just using channels 15 and 16 in the SDI feeds, and that gives us two-way communication to the cameras. Now there's 10G Ethernet there, which I'll come back to in a moment. Now there's 2 types of power. We've got a normal sort of DC 12-volt jack, and that uses the same power supply as an A2 and we include a power supply with the camera. But there's also a 4-pin broadcast style XLR connector. So it's got very flexible power. Now the reason all the connections, all the I connections on this side of the camera is this is the side you generally can attach them to the tripod arm. So it means that it's like a strain relief because you can attach them to that arm, and that arm's normally on the right-hand side. Now let's spin it around, we'll have a look at the other side. So these are the more like the local connections. Now you can see we've got 2 USB-C connections there. These are expansion ports, so you can use them for different uses. But what they do is they allow us to record Blackmagic Raw to external USB disks. So you can do a live production and then edit from a Blackmagic Raw file. Now that's amazing because Blackmagic Raw files are amazing quality digital film files, and they've got film gamma. So they look amazing when you do color correction in DaVinci Resolve. Now we'll see below them there's also 2 professional audio inputs, XLR inputs. Now these are incredibly low noise. We actually spent a lot of time on this. There's been a lot of engineering put into this. And the reason is because microphones are normally placed near the camera. So good quality audio is really important. You don't want to run extra cables back to the switcher. You can do it from the camera. So what that means is that extremely good audio is really important because that's the main audio source a lot of times you're using. Now the noise floor is so low, it's actually better than a lot of the cameras we test, microphones we tested. When we plugged the mic in, actually the noise went up because the microphone's noise was higher than the camera. So complete transformation in the quality of the audio inputs on the side of the camera. It seems like a small thing for video people, but for audio people it's super important. And it's the prime source of audio in a lot of live productions is actually the audio on the camera. Those inputs also have phantom power. And you'll notice we've also gone to a 5-pin XLR talkback headset. We've kind of gone away from that. Broadcast talkback headsets are much more common now. So we've kind of moved away from the aviation headsets that we used to use to now a more traditional broadcast headset. There's also a 3.5mm headphone socket. Now that headphone socket actually has a microphone connection in it, so it's compatible with headsets, you know, the sort of gaming headsets and things. And also there's a 3.5mm video camera style microphone input. Some of those video camera microphones are really nice. So we've got compatibility with those is really important. And the 3.5mm microphone input for those video camera microphones is also extremely low noise, so it's really exciting. Anyway, let's plug the camera in and we'll check it out. So what I'll do is I'll mount it on top of a tripod, so it's a bit easier to see. Now, let me pull one out here. gives our tripod. Now you'll notice that there's actually a tripod mount on the bottom of the camera. The new Blackmagic Studio cameras include a tripod mount, and the reason they include a tripod mount is it makes it much, much easier to set up. So you can see the plate here, so I can just slide it on. So let's mount it on. There it is there. Now this mounting plate that was on the tripod actually also comes with the camera. The whole assembly here, the mount and the plate come together. Now you'll notice that there's some holes in here for rail mounts. Now that really helps if you want to add a prompt or a matte box or something like that. So let's add a lens. So I'll take the lens cap off. And I've got a lens here. But like I'll show you, yeah, you got a shot there, that's a good shot. So I'll show you, you can see the lens there, sensor there. So there's the lens mount and the sensor. So we'll add a lens. There it is there. And we'll remove the lens cap, of course. I don't want to forget that. That'd be a very quick demo if I didn't take the lens cap off. And I've got some power here. Let's plug some power in, which is on the other side. I can tighten that up. There we go. Now let's connect some video cables. Now we're going to use input 6 of this switcher down here because input 6 is actually an SDI input. So I'll grab my output cable first, plug it into the SDI output, and I've got my program return feed, which I'll plug in. There it is. So we go. Now let's turn on the camera. There's a switch on the back there, you can see it, there it is. Now it's come up with the tele light, so I can put that on air. At the moment it's set to preview, so if I come across here, oops, I'll move my USB disk out of the way. I can put that on air, so you can see it's off, and then it's on preview, and then I can bring it on air. So you can see the tele light. You can see not only the preview, but you can also see the when it's on air. So it's really nice. Now the decals in the number can be changed. We put it on 6 because we're plugged in input 6, and the decals are included. So you just sort of pick your finger and then you can pull them out. Now we can also work with the 5-pin talkback headset, which we have a headset here. That just plugs into the side. I won't plug that in, but you can. The normal broadcast headsets work. Now let's have a look at the back of the camera. If you can swing it, I'll swing it around so we can show the rear from the side. There it is there. So you can sort of cut to the side view there. Now you can see the viewfinder on this angle, and the sunshade actually folds up. So what I'll do is I'll unfold the sunshade, and you can see it there. See the sides come out, and there it is. See, it looks really cool. Now this speed of setup really drove the design, and this sunshade's much faster to set up. Everything about the design was really about speed and speed of setting up. So you can see how nice that is. So you see there with the sunshade. It's really cool. It's a much nicer design than what we had before, but it also protects the screen. It just folds up and the camera's ready. Now we've got a large 7-inch viewfinder on this one. It's also a touch screen. I'll pan it around there a bit so you can see on that side camera. Now that was a big limitation on the old model. It didn't have a touchscreen, so it does now. The viewfinder is a little smaller than the old studio camera model, but the larger screens kind of made the camera a bit bulky, so we really wanted this model to be more portable. So I think a 7-inch screen is a good size. Now the sunshade actually unclips and you can remove it. So let me unclip the sunshade and show you. There it is there. So you see it comes right off. There's a clip on the bottom, so you can see that there. Now it's also compatible with the Ursa Studio Viewfinder sunshade, so I'll bring one of those out and show you. That's the sunshade off an Ursa Studio Viewfinder. So that just clips on, and it screws up in the bottom there, which I won't do, but you can just screw those attachments. So you can see that sunshade there. So you can see how it looks. So it's a bit of a different look. Now this one's metal and it's got felt on the inside. I think you can see it from that side view over there. You can see the felt. But it doesn't fold down. It does have a rising edge there, but it doesn't really fold down. The sunshade that's included does fold down, which I like that one better because it's much more portable. So I'll change back to that. clipped on. So now you'll also notice that we've got handles on the side. It's probably a better view there, isn't it? From the side there. You can see we've got the side handles. Now they protect the screen and all the controls because they've got knobs there. And you can also rest the camera on the handles when you're changing the lens. That's really nice. Now let's check out some of the controls. Now, it's actually a little bit similar to the Ursa Studio viewfinder used on the bigger cameras. So you can see how it works. So I'll move it over there. You can see the controls. So you can see that they are there. So I've got brightness and contrast, which we can change. And there's also 2 ways to rotate these knobs. They're really nice. You can use 2 fingers like that, but you can also actually use your thumb from the side, which I quite like doing. Now there's also a focus peaking on an adjustable knob, so it's much nicer because you can adjust the focus peaking as you're zooming around. So the bottom knob here is the focus peaking. Let's bring that up. So you see there it is there. In fact, I'll autofocus. Oops, let's zoom. So I can get some. There we are. So you can see the adjustable focus peaking. That's really nice. Now we've also got a program return button, which is up here. Which is funny because it's actually the same source as we're sending to the switcher because we're on air. So you're actually just seeing it come back. And we've also got an F1, F2 and F3 button down the bottom here. And they can be programmed to anything. The knob up here is actually an iris control. So it's a local iris control. And we've got these pre-programmed. The F1 and 2 and 3 buttons are programmed to zoom, for autofocus and auto iris, but you can change them to anything. Now there's also touchscreen buttons on the LCD. These are very easy to use. So what I'll do is I'll take off the sunshade so you can actually see these better. So you can see that there. So you can see a bit of a better view. There's lots of on-screen controls. You can just push the different buttons. You've got shutter angle that comes up. You've got iris and gain and color temperature. They all just come up just by pushing the controls. Now the audio levels are actually done by pushing the meters. Whoops, the wrong control up there. So you just touch the audio meters, you can bring up the audio controls there for audio levels. And if you want to access the main menus, you just push the menu button. And the menu button's the one up the right here there. There it is there. You can see I've got record settings, monitoring, audio, setup. And also the good thing is the presets can be saved. There's the presets there. You can save and you can generate and save presets onto USB thumb drives and copy them between cameras. You've got lookup tables. Lookup tables can also be saved and shared between cameras. Plus also you can actually load 3D lookup tables from DaVinci Resolve, which is really nice because you can actually save a color grade as a lookup table on DaVinci. Now it includes an Rgb histogram, if you can see it on the bottom there. Now the great thing about an Rgb histogram is you can see clipping in any specific Rgb channel, which is really nice. And you can see as I change the camera gain, you'll see the histogram move. Now recording's really easy. There's an on-screen record button, which you can see down there. Now I'll plug in a USB drive so we can actually do a recording. There it is there. And now you can see the, whoops, didn't have it plugged in. Now you can see the discs come up and I can just push record. There it is. Now it's recording a Blackmagic Raw file to the disc. Now if you've selected video or extended video gamma, now that'll be saved into the file, but it's only metadata. It's not actually burned in. The files are always film gamma, which means you can keep that look. I mean, obviously when you open up those files in DaVinci Resolve, it looks great and you keep that look. Or you can turn it off and do a color grade. And these files look really incredible when you're doing a DaVinci Resolve color correction on them. So it's fantastic. Anyway, I'll stop that and remove the disc. So you can see it's really how much power this camera has. I'll put the sunshade back on so it kind of looks nice.
Yes, guys. And that is the Blackmagic Studio Camera 4K Pro. How cool is that? Before I talk about that camera, let me just read this comment that came in before we watched the video. So we have this guy called Chris Obiero. Chris says cool, and also he says, I got the Blackmagic at a mini and it serves me well. Thanks to Blackmagic. Soon I will upgrade to this. This is really nice hearing the end users loving Blackmagic design products, and this is really amazing. Thank you so much, Chris Obiero. And as well, guys, if you're joining us right now and you want to ask questions live, kindly just mention it on the comment section and we'll be able to get in touch with you on how you can join me live today. Yes, so without talking much again, I just want to talk about the Studio Camera 4K Pro. I just want to mention two things that I'm moved with, actually not two, three. First of all is the physical outlook of that camera. How beautiful it just looks like. It is, the size is quite manageable, and then we have these controls, the knobs, and everything is nicely placed on the camera itself, and I'm just in love with that camera. Now we have another thing, the foldable sunshade. You can fold it, and then we have this beautiful Blackmagic design logo, and when you're using it, you just fold it up again and you're good to go. How cool is that? You don't have every time to remove and screw it back like the previous version of the studio camera. And then also the provision of the shoe, the tripod, the camera shoe that has a provision of the 15mm rods. So you can have your rods directly, you don't have to buy any other accessory when you have the Blackmagic Studio 4K Pro. Yes, guys, these are just exciting features, and these are just the most exciting releases by Blackmagic Design. And I'm looking forward to having my hands on these babies pretty soon so that I can share what it feels like having them like physically here with me very, very soon. Yes, guys, I'll take you to another video. This is going to be a little bit shorter, but it's something that it's an accessory to the studio cameras that I'm so sure you're going to find interesting. So I'll have the two videos just play back to back because they're quite short. We have the zoom demand and the focus demand. So we have the focus demand first, and then we have the zoom demand. Yes, these are just accessories that you can purchase separately if you want to work with them with the studio camera. The one that helps you focus, and another one you're able to zoom without physically putting your hands on the lens on the camera. So let me just show you the videos, Mary.
We put a lot of engineering into it. So what we've done is we've developed a new focus and zoom demands for the studio cameras. So let me show you, I'll bring one out. So I've got one over here. I'll move the camera over a little bit so we can see. So you can see there's the, I'll move this USB drive out of the way. Got my cupcake down there. So you can see there it is there. So this is the focus demand. So you can see it's a very professional unit. It's very similar to expensive control, so it's very familiar to broadcaster users. It rotates beautifully smoothly. It's got a nice rubber coating, so you see there. And it's got two USB connections, so you can see them there. That's why the camera has two USB connections. You know, you can use external focus while you're recording to a USB disk, so you kind of need two USB connections. So let's mount it on the camera so we can check it out. But the first thing I'll need to do is I need to add a second arm to the tripod, so I'll do that. So I've got another arm here. I'll put it onto the tripod. There it is there. Now I've got two-handed control. I'll tilt that out a little bit like that, make it symmetrical. So that's really nice. It's really nice using two hands. The movements are so much smoother. It's so nice. So much control. Okay, so let's mount the focus demand on the camera. Now it comes with the USB cables, with the USB cable. Now the USB cable it comes with have a cable lock, so it's more reliable that way, but you can use any USB cable. So let's start by attaching the focus demand. So just swings open like that, mounts onto the camera. Oops, we'll lift it up a bit. There it is there. So we can control that nicely. Now we'll get a USB cable. This is the USB cable it comes with. So the, we'll plug that in. I'll wrap it around the hand a little bit and plug it into there. Okay, now I can focus the camera. There it is. So I'll move the camera across so we can get a shot from the side. So you can see there, So you can see the focus peaking. So you can really see how nice it is. I'll turn the focus peaking up a bit more so you can see it. So you can see how you can focus through that range. So you can see the control is really nice. It's quite precise and it's very easy to use. I can focus, it's really nice. Now, a lot of MFT lenses actually have power zoom. So what this means is it'd be good to have a zoom control, and we do have that. We've designed that as well, and it's called the Blackmagic Zoom Demand. So let me bring that out and I'll show you as well. I'll move the camera a little bit there. So here it is here. So I'll move the camera that way. So you can see there it is. So you can get a shot of that. It's got the mounting hardware on the side of it. So you can see it's really high end. It's got the main rocker here. It's very smooth through the zoom range. See there, you can use it with your thumb. There's also buttons located around the control, and you can locate them by feel, and they can be programmed for different functions. There's a really big one for the rocker there that you can use with your thumb. And that's normally programmed for the VTR, but you can change it. There's also a zoom knob, a zoom speed knob here. There's two buttons below that work with your fingers. So when you're holding onto it like that, you can access them with your fingers, see there? And you can see those there and there. And again, they can be programmed. And there's also two buttons on the side that you can use with your fingers. There. And there's actually another one on the other side. So you can use it either left or right-handed, depending which side of the camera you want to mount it. So there's those lower buttons there. Now all these controls can be customized. So let's mount it on the handle, and the mounting hardware, like I was saying, is included. So it'll, and they use a standard rosette, so that's a rosette, standard rosette on the side of the controls. So you can use any custom mounting really. So let's mount it onto the camera. There it is there. So now each control has a loop through USB-C connection. So you can loop through the focus demand into the zoom demand, which means you only need one USB connection on the camera for both controls. So let's connect that up. So I've got another cable. Oops. I'll turn it around because that's where my mounting is. And I'll just sort of loop it around the cable arms here. I'm doing it quickly, so I'm not really lacing it up as nicely as I could. There we go. So I can zoom in and zoom out. I'll get the camera sideways so you can see there. As I'm adjusting, you can see there. Adjust in and out. Now with big controls like this, it does add a bit of weight. So you'll tend to find the camera will tilt back. So what you might do is you might need some counterbalance like weights to perfectly balance the camera. It's kind of the price I guess you pay for having these big beautiful controls. They do add a bit of weight on the back side of the camera, so you can add a weight to the front. You can also shift the camera forward on the tripod. It really depends on the tripod you're using. So now I can control both the focus and the zoom. I don't have to take my hands off the tripod handles, and I can keep framing shots while I'm zooming. So let me show you. I think I've got a feed from the camera actually, and also there's a shot on the side here. So I can zoom in, see how nice it is. And I can focus. So precise. Whoops. There it is. And zoom back. You can really see how nice it is. You know, you can still see it's in focus. It really shows you how good these lenses are. It feels very much like a broadcast lens. You know, once you've used a camera like this, it's a complete revelation. It's actually impossible to go back to a regular camera. It's just awesome. So I reckon these will be pretty popular. They're really nice. The focus and zoom demands, they're not available today. We're still waiting for a few parts to arrive, but they'll be available in a few months.
Yes, guys, those are the two accessories I was telling you about, the zoom demand and the focus demand. As in, your work has been made so easy. You don't have to strain yourself. You have everything at the reach of your hands. And something else I also forgot to mention is the USB provision on the camera as well. I think this USB, the additional of USB recording on almost all the actually not almost, all the Blackmagic releases, the previous releases is just amazing, because now we are not limited to the traditional way of having an SD card to your camera or a CFast card. You can actually now have longer hours of recording directly from your camera to your external drive. And that was the zoom demand and the focus demand. These ones are not available right now, but they'll be available very soon. Actually, the zoom demand, the focus demand, I think is available, but I'll just have to confirm that in a few. So we have a question from Julius M. Muthusi. Julius is saying, I have Blackmagic Atem television, Web Presenter, and Hdmi Pro, and hoping to have this superb camera. Actually, it's not a question. This is a Blackmagic design products user. So these are people who use these products, and this release, I'm sure, is going to impact them positively, and them just seeing how Blackmagic is thinking about them every minute, every second is just very, very impressive. Thank you so much, Julius. We are looking forward to seeing you in our offices very soon. Even Chris, because you guys are what keeps us here each and every day. And as well, how much is the camera? Julius, the prices are on our website, which I'm going to mention at the end of this. But okay, why do I have to mention at the end? Let me just answer your question. Our website is www.highwayav.co.ke for those who are purchasing locally. And then as well, we have Yusuf Mutisia. Wow! That wow is wow. Following closely. It's so good to have your company, guys, and I'm very, very much motivated, and I'm just so glad that we are sharing this excitement with you, and you're also excited about the same things that we are showing you as well. For all of you who are joining us right now, if you want to join us live, if you want to come in live and just talk to us, and you know, sometimes when you type, you don't deliver everything that you actually wanted to. Like, people just get tired typing. So if you want to talk, join this live session with me. Just write on the comment section, and we will get in contact with you right now and tell you how you can join us live. Yes, guys, so we are going to watch another product which also makes working with the latest release Blackmagic Studio cameras much easier. Let me just leave it there. Much, much easier. So those nightmares that you've always been having about cables, about having so many cables connected to your camera, the power cable, then you have the SDI cable or HDMI cable, then you have all these other accessories attached, and it becomes so bulky and very hard to even maneuver. Your camera is gone, because Blackmagic just released another product that is here to help you with the problem of having all these cables on your camera. So let's watch this video on Blackmagic Studio Converter. Yes, Mary Blackmagic Studio Converter right now.
All the time. So it's really exciting. Now there's really only one more way these new studio cameras could be better. The cables to the side of the camera are a bit of a hassle, you know, these camera cables here. In some venues, it's really hard to run cables to cameras. You might want to use the building's network, for example, and there might not be any power at the camera end, and that's quite common. This is why the SMPTE fiber workflow is really so nice. All the video and the camera powers on the one cable, but the problem is SMPTE fiber cables are really expensive. So what we did is we added a copper 10G Ethernet port to the side of the camera. It's like a SMPTE fiber style workflow, but it's much lower cost Ethernet cable instead. It's professional, but it's also affordable. So you can do the whole camera with just one cable. But we do need a converter. We've got to convert back to the video world, so we've got a converter for the other end design for that. The name of the converter is called the Blackmagic Studio Converter. And let me bring it out and show you. Here it is here. Let me swing the camera around a little bit so that it's not in the way. There it is there. So you can see there's the converter there. Now this converter has a massive power supply in it, so it powers the camera. It's also got 12G SDI camera feeds, 2 program return feeds, you see on the back there. Now one of the program return feeds is for the viewfinder on the camera when you push the program button, but the second return feed actually overrides the HDMI on the side of the camera. So if you plug in the second program return feed on the back there, it'll actually output that video on the HDMI output on the camera. Now normally that HDMI outputs the camera video, but in this case it will be overridden, And the reason that's good is for teleprompters. So you can plug your teleprompter source into there and then get it out onto the front of the camera, which is really nice. So let's plug everything in and so you can see it working. Now first what we need to do is we need to unplug our SDI connections from the camera and plug them into the converter instead. So let's do that. So I've got my main program video out. Whoops. Just banged into my Hyperdeck. So and I've got a bit of a cable mess here, so I'll plug that into the top connector. And I've got my program return feed here. I'll plug it into program return feed number 1. There we go. Plug the converter in with the SDI. Now I need to plug in some power the converter. There it is there. Now I'll unplug the camera power as well, so let me get rid of that. Now the converter is all set up and running. What we need to do now is plug in the camera. So we need to get an Ethernet cable to do that. So I'll get an Ethernet cable and I'll plug it in. So I'll put that there, and I've got a nice big Ethernet cable here. So what I'll do is I'll plug the one end of the cable into the converter, and I'll plug the other end into the camera, and I can swing it around and show you over there. So if you can see that shot there, there you go. The camera's come up. So you see that there. Now you can see I've got one cable connecting to the camera, and it's running on this single Ethernet cable. Talkback, tele, camera controllers, all via this one cable. So you only need to run a single cable in a venue. You can see the camera feed and status on the front LCD. There's also a speaker and headphone socket on the front of the converter. That's really nice for verifying the audio on the camera from the front of the converter, especially when it's mounted on a rack. So this is very fast to set up and it's really simple. So the Blackmagic Studio converter will be available in a few months' time, but we wanted to show it to you now so you can get an idea of what the whole workflow. Now it'll be priced at $895. It's basically as powerful as our Blackmagic Studio fiber converter, but it uses copper Ethernet cable and not the more expensive simply fiber cable. So it's much lower cost, but the workflow is exactly the same. It's really only limited by the 10G Ethernet cable lengths. And we've actually been getting longer cable lengths out of 10G Ethernet than we have been doing with 12G SDI. And as better cables are released over time, the distance will increase even further. Now, one thing that's interesting is it does switch to 1G Ethernet if you're running the camera in HD. So you can use older Ethernet cables, and you might find in some venues, and that's obviously quite common because 10G Ethernet is actually quite new. So one thing you'll notice actually about the converter, I'll move move it out of the way there. The converter is a bit deeper than the Teranex Mini converters. It's got a bigger power supply. You know, the converter needs to power Ethernet over long cables. So we needed a bigger power supply, which made the product deeper. So we have a new rack shelf to mount these for deeper products, and it's called Blackmagic Universal Rack Shelf. It's the same as the Teranex Mini rack shelf, but it's deeper. It actually has holes in it, so you can mount any of the Teranex Mini converters in it. But you can also mount 2 of these in the rack shelf, so you get 2 channels per rack unit.
Yes, guys, that is what I was talking about. The nightmare of having all these cables on your camera is going to end very, very soon. Yes, so I didn't mention the Ethernet port on the camera purposely so that you can watch the video on the Studio converter first so that I can mention it. Yes, guys, with this one Ethernet port on the Studio 4K Pro camera, you're able to get power, the video, and you're also able to get talkback and tally as well. So you don't need multiple cables connected to this, to your camera for you to achieve all these things. So you just, also with Ethernet cable, you have increased distance. So if you can run your SDA up to 50 or 100 meters, now with Ethernet you can go much longer distance without even worrying about anything. Yes, guys, so you've been told that the Studio converter unit will be available in a few months, but again, it's here. It's already here. It has been launched, so it's just a matter of time before we have them shipping very, very soon, and all this nightmare will be over. Yes, now for the final product that was launched. Before I just mention it, I want to read a comment from Prince Chef, yes. Prince is asking, when will you call us for training? Prince, our offices are always open, Monday to Friday from 8 to 5 p.m. and we can stay longer if you request us to. And then on Saturday, we open our offices at 9 till 2. So you can drop to our offices anytime and we'll be able to discuss with you on what training you will need, and we'll tell you how to go about it. And to add on that, Prince, we also have these training sessions like this one every Tuesday about Blackmagic products, and any other products we have a video on Wednesday by Mary and Yasin. So make sure you don't miss out on these videos, because you'll be able to learn 1 or 2 things. And if you have any questions after watching the videos, you can leave them on the comment section, or you can give us a call. Our number is +2 54 796 26 20 28. Yes, and we'll be able to advise you on how to go about that. So for our final product, it's still in the studio camera family, and this is a solution for the Atem Mini family users, because the Atem Mini has HDMI inputs only. The Atem Mini family, we have the Atem Mini, Atem Mini Pro, Atem Mini Extreme. Yes, all of these have only HDMI inputs. So there's this camera that has been released by the Blackmagic design. Actually, most of Blackmagic cameras are usually SDI, but now this studio camera, exclusive of the pocket camera. So this studio camera has HDMI out, and it's much more cheaper compared to the 4K. So I want you guys to watch, but before that, let me just read this again. Prince says, keep it up dear, say hi to Sir Sefu. Sefu will receive your greetings definitely, and we will do that. So Mary, if you could kindly play the video of the Blackmagic Studio Camera 4K Plus for our people, so that they can see the excitement I'm talking about right now.
4K Pro is really nice, but we actually wanted a model specifically for the Atem Mini. The original Blackmagic Studio camera didn't actually have HDMI out, and the new Pro model is great, but it's got a lot of stuff we just don't need on Atem Mini. So we don't need talkback, we don't need SDI connections for those switches, but we really do want a great camera. You know, we want the same low light capability, we want a built-in color corrector, we want great microphones and a tally light. So what we want to do is keep the same great camera, but remove the stuff Atem Mini doesn't need. So you get a great model specifically designed for Atem Mini. Yeah, we want a model that's more affordable, and we've done that. We've called it Blackmagic Studio Camera 4K Plus, and I'll bring it out and show it to you. So we've got one here. Here it is. So you can see if you can get a shot of that. Now it's got exactly the same quality camera as the Pro model has. It's got the same low light capability, the same color science, same resolution. It's a fantastic camera, but it strips off all the stuff you don't need. It removes stuff, basically that costs a lot of money that you just don't need on Atem Mini. So we've removed the 12G SDI and the 10G Ethernet connection because they cost a lot of money. It also removes the balanced professional XLR audio inputs. They cost a lot because of the quality level that we achieved with those. We've also used a standard LCD screen for the viewfinder. The Pro model actually has a high brightness screen. This one's just got a standard screen. But we've still got the beautiful folding sunshade. And we include the tripod mount as well. We've got the same LCD controls, the brightness, contrast, and focus peaking. We've got the same Blackmagic OS with all the menus and all the camera features. It's even got 3D lookup tables, and there's LCD, and there's custom presets. It's got the same built-in DaVinci primary color corrector as well. So let's plug it in and we'll check it out, and you can see how it all works. So I've got a tripod here. I'll bring it out. Here we are. Oops. Now I've already got the focus peaking, so let's mount the camera on the tripod. There it is there. Lock it down. Now it works with the same focus and zoom demand, so let's plug everything in. First we need some power. And we'll plug in the focus and zoom demand. Right. Now we have an Atem Mini that I can bring out. There it is. I'll hide it down the back here. And then we'll plug the HDMI in so we can use the Atem Mini to connect to it. Oops. There we are. Plugged in. There we Now this is a 4K camera, so the HDMI is actually Ultra HD, but it'll detect the A10 Mini's plugged in and it'll switch to HD, so we don't have to really do anything. So let's turn it on. We'll lift the sunshade up. There it is there. And we'll turn on the camera. There it is. Actually, it's already on. So nice. So what we'll do is we'll put the A10 Mini to air. So you can see there's the HDMI cable. So the tally light works via the HDMI cable. So you get video, but you also, the switcher talks back through the HDMI cable to the camera. So I can switch between inputs. Now I've got it on preview. So if I cut, it'll go on air. If I cut away from it, it'll go to preview. And I can go back on air. So you can see it's really nice. You can get the same framing and focus. It's really nice. Got focus there and power zoom. So you can see, if you can see over there, I'll get that other camera shot. You can see it zooming. That all works fine. So it's really good. Now the lens and the color corrector can be controlled via HDMI. So let's check it out using the ATEM software control. So down here I've got a computer that's actually connected to the ATEM Mini via USB. So the ATEM software control over here is talking to the switcher. In fact, I can do some cuts. You can see the tally light going on and off because now I'm controlling the switcher from here. So if I go to the camera page, this is where my camera control is, and it'll talk back from the HDMI to the camera. So I can do some iris control. So you can see it there. It's pretty cool. You can see that shot from the viewfinder. I can also do an autofocus. I can do color tint. So I've got, oops, didn't grab it well enough. So I can do all sorts of funky color tints. So that's controlling the color corrector in the camera. So I can even change the gain remotely from the ATEM Mini in the interface here. So I can go in here and adjust up a bunch of gain. You can see the gain on the camera is getting higher. I can set it back down again. Oops, I've got negative. There you go, that's 0. So you can really see how the control's pretty much exactly the same as the Pro model, but it's all being done down the HDMI cable. Now the camera number doesn't need to be set on when you're using HDMI because it's automatic. It knows if you're plugging in input 1, it'll then control it as camera number 1. Otherwise, it's really similar to the Pro model. So you can get, so even get some really long HDMI cables now. So you can actually get the cameras a good distance away from the ATEM Mini. It's a really nice workflow. And then of course later you can add a HDMI to SDI converter to convert the camera to SDI if you're using larger switches that run with SDI.
Wow, just wow. As in, with this latest release, Blackmagic has covered each and every one of you. I don't think there's anyone who's watching me right now and they feel like they've not been covered. Starting from the live streaming, the Web Presenter 4K, and then all the way to Hyperdeck family, the Hyperdeck Mini HD, Hyperdeck Mini, HD Plus, HD Pro, and now the 4K Pro. All the Hyperdeck family. And then we are now here on the Studio camera family. So this last camera was the Studio 4K Plus, yes, Studio 4K Plus, which has HDMI output, and it's a pretty good camera. Same design as the 4K Pro camera. It looks very good. The foldable sunshade. When you want to use it, you fold it up again. When you're done with it, you just close it, and you don't need to detach and attach each and every time you're using that camera. So every one of you has been covered with this latest release. I don't want to add much or say anything else because I think everything has been covered in this video. Everything you need to know. Unless you have any questions, guys, I think I've come to the end of my live session for today. And unfortunately, no one wanted to join me live today, but don't worry, guys, there's always another chance. So if you want to join me live in my upcoming videos, okay, if you want to join me live in my upcoming videos, you can just leave a comment, and then we will contact you and let you know how you'll be able to join us live so that we can interact. I just don't have to read the comments. You can actually ask me the questions and I'll be able to answer them real time. I hope I'll be able to provide all the questions you guys will be having for me. So yes, as I said earlier, learning never stops. And these launches are going to be there each and every time. So new products are being created, are being developed, so you have to make sure that you learn about them as soon as they're released, because when you wait, something else is going to be released before you learn about the previous releases. I'm so glad for each and every one of you for joining me on this live today and being patient. It's almost 2 hours of the live session. We've never been this live actually on a Magic Tuesday show. This is the first ever longest Magic Tuesday show, but I'm so glad that you guys stayed here, and thank you for the good questions you had and the good comments you had. Looking forward to having you guys on our next sessions, and if you don't have any questions, I think I'll have to call it a wrap for today. My name is Fauzia, and as usual, I'll leave you with our social media pages and our contacts and our location, so that if you have further questions and you feel like writing them on the comment section will not help you as much, you need to actually communicate to someone real time or visit us in our offices. So here are the details. Our office is located in South B at Trans Towers, upper ground floor, office number 6. South B, Trans Towers, upper ground floor, office number 6. And we are open weekdays till and weekend on Saturday. And now you can call us, give us a call on +254 796 26 20 28. Someone will be able to assist you with whatever question you'll be having. And to all the Blackmagic users out here, we will really love to hear from you, end user, as in what is your experience? What do you think about Blackmagic products? What else do you think needs to be done about these products? And what do you need to learn about these products? So comment and interact with us on any Blackmagic questions you have. I think that's it from me today. Mary, I'll just request you to come because I promised these people, Mary, I promised these people that I will launch you. I will launch you today so that they can see Mary. And in case they've not watched how-to videos, they will have to go look for them because they need to see how pretty your face looks like. Mary, come. Yes, guys, Mary is coming so that she can just say hello. So Mary is here, and Yasin, come, come, come. Come. Mary is a bit slow. Hey. So this is Mary.
Hi guys.
And this is Yasin. So if Yasin is very tall, you have to go low. You have to go low. You see him. He's the tallest in this crew. But again, these two have a video on Wednesday how to. So make sure you also watch that playlist.
Yes, and comment your numbers down there if you need anything.
Okay, yes, guys, comment down there. So that was our show for today. And until next Tuesday with a whole new magic from Blackmagic Design.
Adios.
Now who will have to end this? Guys, that was so awesome. Thank you so much for your company, and much love to you from wherever you are.